I'm really happy about being here today, and I really have to say I find the event very interesting and inspiring so far to hear so many great stories of other important players, female players, but not only in the automotive industry. The topic that I am happy to speak about today is co-leadership. Now, I have to say I'm not from SAP HR, so I'm not the one who's actually promoting these kind of models in terms of developing them and defining them and putting them into practice and this sort of thing. But that is actually what I do. So I do lead the customer advisory team for automotive and manufacturing at SAP in a co-leadership model. And I'm really happy that I am able to do that with my colleague Natalia Sturas, who's actually here today in the audience as well. So here you can see the both of us, the tandem, the co-leadership team. And I would like to talk a little bit about us and our personal experience. Why are we actually doing co-leadership? What does it mean for us? How did we shape the model? Because I think this is also something that is quite important, because every co-leadership team, every co-leadership model that I've ever heard about is a little bit different. And I'd like to share some insights how we are doing it, why we're actually in it, and also what our experience has been. So let me start maybe by introducing the two of us and the team that we are leading. So as I already said, we're both working for SAP, and there we are in actually in a pre-sales role, you could say. So customer advisory is a team that is serving the automotive and manufacturing customers. It's a customer-facing team. Our role is a customer-facing role, and our job is actually to provide sort of the content, the solution expertise, and the industry expertise for the manufacturing and the automotive industry customers. In this, we are supporting our sales units there, and we're working closely with also quite a few of the customers that we have seen today already. So I've seen Daimler Trucks. Of course, we're working with the big OEMs, but also with automotive suppliers, for example. And also in our team are industrial machinery and components companies, as well as high tech. That is sort of the portfolio. Altogether, it's called discrete industries. The team that we are leading has actually three roles in it. It's one of them is pre-sales, obviously, with a focus on the industry, so not a particular process or solution, but the industry. Then we have value engineering. Value engineering is more focused at proving benefits, business benefits of investing in, for example, software solutions. Part of it is also calculating business cases, something like that. And we have business development for automotive and manufacturing industry in our team. Now, Natalios and myself, we've both been working for SAP for actually quite many years already. And for the past 4 or 5 years, depending on who you ask between the two of us, we were part of that very team. Natalios was in a pre-sales role, I was in a value engineering. And I have to say that, at least speaking for myself, that is where the fascination with the automotive industry and manufacturing industry is actually coming from. We have been working with these customers for quite a long time. We're really admiring at how innovative they are in many areas, especially given the big challenges and the big disruptions and changes that are currently taking place, in particular with focus on automotive. And here we really love playing our part in accompanying these changes that are happening, and actually in working at new innovative business models, service models, innovations in all the processes that are actually happening in automotive, together with our customers. Now, we are leading the team in a co-leadership model since the beginning of this year. And also, I think something that is really important is that it was absolutely our wish. we wanted to take over the management position together as a team. And I also have to say, it wasn't always an easy ride. In the end, I'm really, really proud to work for an employer who's open to such models and who says, yes, let's do it. Let's see how it works. And I don't know, maybe one or the other might have seen it, that we're also advertising the possibility of co-leadership at SAP. But then the specifics on how you do it and what are what is the particular content of the co-leadership model, that is something that has to be defined, and that is also something that we had to figure out with our upper management. So now we're leading the team together. It is one team, it remains one team. That was very, very important for us. And we sort of take all the decisions that are needed together. We have split up the work, obviously, because one of the very key important things in co-leadership is you have to make sure that you're not just doubling the work. I think that's the most important thing, that you really make sure you're able to do more as a co-leadership team than as you would be in just one. So what I'd like to go into a bit more detail now is why on earth did we decide we wanted to do this together and as a team? So let's look a little bit at the reasons and also at the benefits. So why do we actually believe that 1 + 1 = more than 2? Why do we think, well, I would even say by now, we do have the experience and we know that we can deliver more as a team than we would have been able to do as just one person? There's actually quite a lot of things that are important here and that we've realized. The first thing being, here you see a little puzzle between value engineering and pre-sales. I mentioned in the beginning that in our team, we have different roles. And the roles, of course, they're working together very closely, but their focus is a little bit different. And between the two of us, we actually had the chance to bring together experience from both areas, because I used to be a value engineer before, Nectarios used to be pre-sales before. So now we're able to bring both experience together. And we realize that this, for us, is a great benefit, because we can make sure that we understand everybody's tasks and everybody's goals and priorities in the team properly. But also the way that we are working together, I think we also manage for the team to work closely together between value engineering and pre-sales. And that's really, really important to really serve our customers in the automotive industry. Another thing is, also, as I said, we're actually serving two industries, or at least two industries, you could say, in the one team that we're working in. So we do have automotive customers with OEMs and suppliers. And on the other hand, we do have industrial machinery and components, high tech. We also have some aerospace and defense, some construction. So kind of another sub-industry. And also here we realized that our backgrounds were actually in those two industries, and we were able to bring these experiences together. And also, on the one hand, today we're able to bring together experience from automotive industry as well as from what we call discrete manufacturing industries. But also, when we are working with our customers today, we realized it's also quite helpful to be able to focus a little bit more on one of the industries, because there's happening so much and you have to stay on top of all of the things that as a team, we're actually able to deliver more here when serving more than one industry. All right. Now, on top of that, we just have the chance to come up with more and better ideas. That is something that we've really realized, because you always have sort of a natural sparring partner. There's always someone you can discuss your ideas with, and you can build on the ideas of others. And of course, you can do that with all colleagues, and that is really important. And everybody has close colleagues that they can work with. But for us, especially in the management role, it helps us to know that there's someone who has exactly the same goals, exactly the same challenges, and who really wants to bring something forward together with you. So that also was quite a big benefit that we could bring in here. And I mentioned the customer, so we're a customer-facing role. The fact that we can combine the capacities of two people allows us to actually have more customer meetings, to have more interaction with customers than we would have been able to if you had to balance the task that you had in the management job together with the customer-facing role. And here we just have the chance to have more capacity and to dedicate more time also to external tasks such as this. And another thing that I think we've heard quite a lot about today and that we should never forget is actually the topic of diversity. So we actually have the chance to drive a diversity topic. Now here, these are benefits that we realize we have with our co-leadership model. But and these are also the things that we realize for ourselves. That's what makes the co-leadership model better than to be just, a one-man show in that job. Also, and this I'd like to link to the diversity topic, obviously the reasons why we said, well, we want to go into this together for us very personally, they're closely related to this as well. So for us, the way that we are working is that, as we all know, this is really workable to the down to the very number in reality. But on paper, each of us went into the management role with 50% of their time. And the rest of the time, we wanted to keep doing our operative jobs. So Nectarius is still in pre-sales, and I'm still doing value engineering tasks, which works perfectly fine for the line of work that we are doing. So this is something we just didn't want to give up. So the co-leadership model, on the one hand, gave us the chance to combine the operative work that we are doing with the new part of managing the team. Also, obviously, it is something that allows to combine a family with the very demanding and time-consuming job of a manager at SAP. Because, I have family at home, Nectarius has family at home, you also spend some time on parental leave. In between, that is something that could, because we are sort of the workload between the two of us. The principles that we are building our model on are really important. As I said, we wanted it. That is something that we wanted this model. So it's absolutely important that we trust each other. That's the basis for everything. But then also, all our goals, wins, and challenges have to be joint goals, wins, and challenges. So there's no blaming the other if something goes wrong. That's really important. I mentioned before, as little double work as possible. That's super important. Otherwise, such a model can never work. Also, the decision of one of us counts for both. So if someone decides something, we're not going to go back on that. We might have disagreements behind closed doors, but towards the team, we always have to make sure that there is a certainty a decision stands, even if there are two people. We constantly optimize the model. We actually just had a survey amongst our colleagues asking for feedback. So how's it going? And feedback was quite good, but we also identified some areas where we said, okay, here we need to make sure alignment is even better. And of course, communicate. That's the key to actually making the co-leadership model work at all. So we're talking pretty much all the time. Now, I also mentioned at the beginning what is actually needed to inspire leaders in the future. And I think, of course, this is not the all-consuming answer, but this is one very practical model, how a leadership role is possible, given the fact that you also want to make sure you have family, you keep your operative job, and you just want to make sure there's the right balance. What we have realized, actually, or what I've realized in the past months, Corona, no need to mention this, it has changed the way that we work and that we live and that, we feel completely. And it has opened minds for quite a few new working models. I think there's also something on the agenda on remote working. That is something that is now a given, and in many companies that was a difficult topic before. But what I realized that as well is that there are some issues that have been reawoken that we thought we had very long left behind. So what could that be? When talking about female leadership, here we have to say in management rounds, in these virtual rounds, very often we're also still surrounded by men. And the ones, not only in leadership, but everywhere, the parents that are now looking after kids that can't go to school, very often were the mothers. So that's where it becomes difficult to actually go through with leadership roles like this. Very quickly to sum things up, organizations need to open their minds to these new working models. They need to try them out. And we are lucky enough that SAP is doing just that. Also, co-leadership, as it is being promoted anywhere, it's not only a topic for women. It's not only for someone who comes back from parental leave and wants to work 50%, but here you actually have the chance as a woman as well as a man to combine the way that you are working in just a very new way. I said already, every co-leadership setup is very unique, and it's the responsibility of the people in it, the leaders themselves, to make it work. So we cannot expect that the company or anyone brings a readily made model to us and guarantees that it works, but that's our own task. We have to make sure that we are aligned, that there's no double work, and that we really make this work for everybody who needs to and working with us. That's my very short pitch for co-leadership model. As I said, some practical experience, how we are living it, and I'm really curious to hear about your feedback or your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Sandra, great. Thank you for that. Very inspiring. And there's a remark of one of the participants, actually, that is Johanna Ria, and she's working at Wireless Car. And she is saying, yeah, we call co-leadership 2 in a box. So you get, for the price of 1, you get 2 excellent leaders.
That's a nice wording, yes.
Yeah, it's a good way to approach that. Now, before we talked backstage, and we were talking about role models. Now, I imagine, I mean, you are at SAP in Germany for how many years have you been working at SAP in Germany?
11 years now.
11 years, okay. So, in the beginning of your career, what kind of inspirational role models, or what kind of inspirational quotes or things were pushing you forward? It could be your mom or your sister or anybody else. Or could you expand on that a little bit?
I could, and I could probably list like a number of people who've inspired me, but I'd like to maybe focus on, in particular, the topic that we are having today. So that being female leadership on the one hand, and in my particular way, co-leadership as well. So maybe let me start with the latter, because that is the very specific one, co-leadership. It is a new model, so I wouldn't say there is like the one individual, or the two individuals that have inspired me to this particular model. But what I have to say, it has quite a long tradition also in our company at SAP. So for a very, very long time, we've had co-leadership at the highest levels of the organization. So even the founders, for a long time, they were working together with Hasso Plattner and Dietmar Hopp. So the people who actually founded SAP, they were working in the co-leadership model together for probably totally different reasons. But the benefits that I've listed are exactly the same. Also, I mean, very recently we've had a co-leadership team, which by now has quite a long-standing tradition in the company, I would say. In terms of female leadership, now this has nothing to do with my topic, so nothing about co-leadership. But who I find very inspiring is actually Michelle Obama and her book Becoming.
Yeah.
Probably very well known because it's an absolute classic right now.
And did you already buy the new book of Obama? Her husband, Barack Obama?
Haven't read it, obviously. but I have to be very honest. I find her particularly interesting because it's not the story of a president. So I will probably read this one. I read parts of his last book, not the whole thing, parts of it. But I really have to say, what impresses me is not the whole Obama family, even though, yes, also, but in particular, Michelle Obama.
Okay, a couple of questions from the participants. One remark, or actually question, is by Caroline Caparelli. And yeah, she is customer marketing manager at Harman. And she was wondering how was it originally introduced as at SAP, and at the moment, how many pairs are currently operating? How many leadership pairs are currently operating at SAP?
Well, as I said, it has a long tradition, but in a very particular setting. So in the CEO area. For as a model that is available to, at least theoretically, everybody in the organization, it's quite new. So actually, when we applied last year, I think the press announcement was only like half a year old or something like that. So from the beginning of last year. That this was a model within SAP, and we actually made sure we talked to quite a few couples when we handed in our application. And back then, I don't know, there were, I think, around like 10 couples in Germany. Now we're only looking at SAP Germany. And now we realize that the number's really growing. So very often we are also contacted by people who want to enter into a co-leadership model. And as I said, the models are very different. That is also quite important. So we do have our model where we say, okay, we want to keep our operative job for a part of our time. Where you have to, for example, very often it's actually women coming back from parental leave and then working 50%. But we also have couples where there's one very experienced manager who says, I want to leave the company in 2 to 3 years, and I'm working with the person who's going to take over now already. So totally different model, but it's a great way to make these working models possible.
Okay, so it's like a mentorship, you could say, the last model.
Yes, but not an informal one. They're actually leading the team together, and successively, the experienced manager can then go back also on the time they spend. The other one can grow into the role, and in terms of handover, that is obviously a great choice as well. Okay,
now. Could you mention a number? How many pairs do you know? Is it actually registered? Is there a particular number? How many do you know, or is it you don't know yet at the moment?
There probably is at the moment. I can only estimate, and I would say there's probably in SAP Germany. There's probably around something I would say 15 to 20 couples.
Okay, cool. So
so and a growing number, as I said.
Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting. Now. 1 or 2 remarks before we'll introduce the new or the next keynote speaker. There's a remark or question, more or less, by Anna Caroline Bruns, and she is asking about the positive feedback. So you said the team members, they give positive feedback. Now, how are the bosses reacting, who are 1 level higher or maybe 2 level higher? How are they reacting?
It's an interesting question because I said it wasn't a given. We had to do some convincing. And obviously we had to convince the upper management that this was the right course of action. So there were quite some question marks in the beginning that we had to come across. Now that we've been in the role for about a year, I think the feedback also from our management is extremely good. And what is very important for that is that we ourselves made it very clear, like, who is the contact person for whom. I think you create a lot of, when you say, oh, just contact answer. That's not the way to do it. We said we have very clear responsibilities. One of us is focusing more on automotive. The other one's focusing more on the discrete manufacturing industries. And that's what we did for all our stakeholders, so they always know how to talk to, who to talk to. And that's what we did for the team as well. Also for the team, it's really important to know who are you actually talking to. And if you have something, you need a quick answer, you don't go to the person where you just think, oh, they might answer first, but you know exactly where to go to. That is one of the key things. That's also the feedback that we are getting again and again. And I think that's the key, step to making it possible.
So you have to make it clear. Sandra, thank you very much. And thank you.